The sixth week in ordinary time of the year, Thursday, February 20, 2025. In the first reading, we witnessed the covenant relationship between God and Noah and his descendants. God blessed Noah and his sons. He said to be fruitful and multiply. God gave to man in charge of all that he had made. That man is the stewards of God's creation. God also blesses man and promised that he will not destroy the face of the earth with water, and sealed it with a sign of rainbow. In the gospel, Jesus also quizzed his disciples on his identity. Who do people say that I am? Peter will be at first in responding that you are the Christ. He recognized the identity, the divinity of Christ. Inasmuch as he was able to identify Jesus' divinity, and yet he does not have full knowledge of what that implies. He knows that, yes, he is the Messiah, the one who comes to save. But the means of that salvation eludes him. As Jesus begins to explain what will happen about his suffering, how he will go to the cross, and what will become of him, immediately Peter will switch and become protective. But he speaks from a human side of it. And Jesus understands that. For the will of God to be fulfilled, that he must undergo suffering. He is the suffering servant that Isaiah speaks of. The one whom people will spit upon, people will cajole, people will pluck his beard, and people will do all sorts of humiliation and insult. That is far from the idealistic sense of a Messiah. But Jesus is willing to humble himself. As Paul once told us, that even though he is in likeness of God and yet did not deem equality, but he humbled himself, became obedient even unto death on a cross. That it is through the cross that Jesus brings salvation to humanity. And sometimes for us to do the will of God, not our desires or our wants, that means that sometimes we are too must suffer. It's not the kind of news that we want to hear. But for those who believe, those who have hope, it is a redemptive suffering. It is a kind of suffering like when we say there is light at the end of the tunnel. Because in the end, Jesus will surely show his manifestation in our lives. Have a blessed day.